I actually grew up all around, mainly, believe it or not, the house that the Women's Center of Hope is I used to live there. My mom used to live there for 10 years, and as a matter of fact, the office used to be my bedroom. My childhood was rough. My mom was a single parent, didn't have any income, you know, was on welfare the whole time. You don't see a lot of bright lights. You don't see a lot of future when you live that lifestyle. And so there's a lot of, you know, no food, lights and gas turned off constantly for weeks and weeks, months at a time. Sometimes you just eat what you can find. If it's just beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then it's just beans. If it's just popcorn, that's what you have. So, and my mom had 7 kids. I was very shy, and I'm sure it came from the way I was raised. There's a lot of things I wanted to do as far as like cheerleading and things like that, but I was too shy. I have a hearing problem, so I had the measles when I was 2 months, and that also kind of conformed the shyness because I couldn't understand. I couldn't really talk. I mean, when I went and took my hearing test, the doctor was surprised that I could even speak. As bad as my hearing is, that's why I know there's a God. As bad as my hearing is, he was amazed that I could even speak. Yeah, I took a lot of speech classes, all kinds of things, reading classes, everything. And I went to several elementary schools, always, you know, mom had to move, not paying rent. As a student, I was okay. I could have been much better, but the low self-esteem, the poverty level, the not thinking you're going to amount to anything, it took a toll. Yeah, so, you know, I remember I got pregnant when I was 16. Yeah, and so I remember walking out of my coach's office with the little letter to a college that had accepted me, but I was pregnant. I didn't tell anybody. And I remember I put that in my notebook and never took it out. Track was my, what do you call it? It was my feel free, my let go. You know, but still nobody knew. My coach never knew. Nobody ever knew my struggles. Nobody ever knew, you know, my mom had went to prison. Nobody ever knew that her and her boyfriend were fist fighting and stuff like that. Nobody ever knew. We just dealt with it. Nobody ever knew that if my sister didn't come home, we had to take care of her kids and we didn't go to school. We had went through this thing to where my mom, you know, didn't have her own house. We had to move in with one of her friends. That didn't really go too good. And my mom ended up going to prison. Yeah, so she ended up going to prison 2.5 years. Yeah, that was just the third, I think that was the 3rd time she went to prison. I have the baby. The lady that my mom left us with really didn't do a good job, didn't get me on welfare, none of that stuff. So we end up being homeless. And so we're sleeping from couch to couch to couch to couch to couch to couch. And no food stamps, nobody's telling us. So finally my aunt, which is one of my mom's really good friends, she comes over and I tell her, I said, Auntie, I said, we don't have any food stamps, we don't have no rent money, we don't have anything. So she goes and she takes care of that and get us together and, you know, but we were still homeless. The landlord had put us out because the lady that my mom left us with, we didn't stay with her. She put us in a house, an apartment across the street and didn't pay any rent or anything like that. So my mom is just in prison, like so worried, you know, she can't do nothing. And so I called my grandpa, and he lived in Roswell, 4 hours away. Called my grandpa, and I said, Grandpa, I said, we're homeless, we don't have a place to stay. And it wasn't just me, it was my sister. I was 18, my sister was 17, and my baby sister was 15, and my son at that time was 7 months. And so I called my grandpa, and he said, I'll be there next week to get you guys an apartment. So we have 1 day until my grandpa comes. So we're sitting at Trumbull Park, and we were like, we don't have a place to stay. My mom's friend had already said, like, no more. You wear all the couches and everything at everybody else's house, they're like done with you. So we're sitting at the park, it's getting dark. And so my best friend, she lived on base, and she says, well, Ocie, what are you guys gonna do? I said, take my sister and take my son. I said, we'll figure it out. So me and my 17-year-old sister was sitting at the park like, what are we going to do? We're going to sleep in a park. We're really going to sleep in a park. And this guy that I had just started talking to went and got us a hotel and didn't even stay there. And that was a blessing from God. That's where the blessing came in, because had he not gotten us that hotel, he never would have found us. Because we were walking up Central, my grandpa's coming in on the main street, and my sister flagged down his Cadillac. Yes, and praise God we knew what his car looked like. But had we not been coming out of that hotel, no cell phone back then, he never would have found us. There was no way he would have found us. The next phase was really hard, because I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my diploma. It was 3 of us, and the middle sister, she was a party animal. So she would babysit for me while I went to school. Well, in the mix of her partying, she doesn't come home several times, so I end up dropping out of school again. And I'm like, man, I'm never gonna get this diploma. It was something that I needed. I needed it, Steve. I never realized that until just now, how much I needed that. What happened was, I always knew that there was something else. I remember one time my mom would be crying or something like that. She would always say, God help me, or something like that. But we never went. We went to church often, but not with my mom. She just would send us to get us out of her hair. But I mean, I didn't know him. So it wasn't until my friend got saved. When we all used to go out to the clubs and stuff, this was our friend who used to get drunk. I mean, Henderson and Coke, or Henderson by itself. And she would always fight. I mean, at least 3 or 4 times in the weekend. I'm like, we cannot go out with you. You like to fight. I'm not like that. I'm a mediator. I'm cool. And she would always fight. She ended up getting saved. And she was talking to me, and she was talking about God, and she would just get so happy. And I promise you, we were sitting in my house, and there was like a light over her. And I was like, why do you talk about God like that? I said, why do you talk about him? She said, Ocie, he saved me. You know where I was going. I was on my way to hell or get killed or something like that. She said, but he saved me. She said, if it wasn't for him, I would probably be dead. And I was like, really? She said, yeah. She said, are you saved? And I was like, no, I'm not saved. I said, I've never asked anything. And she said, I think you're saved. And I said, no, I'm not. She said, I don't know. She says, you're so sweet. You do everything for everybody. You're such a nice person. She said, I don't know. I kind of think you're saved. And I was like, no. It was really the light that was shining over my friend. I was like, she was just so happy. She had a glow when she spoke about him. She was such a beautiful person, just with the glow. You know what I mean? It was, when she spoke about God, I mean, it's like the lights went off. I mean, it was just, she had my full attention. Like, my house got bright. It was, yeah. And she would tell me, you know, you need to pray and this and that. And she wrote me a letter, an 8-page letter, when she got saved. And she said, and Ocie, she said, you never, I was always the mediator to keep everybody together and stuff. Never was a drinker. I just liked to dance. And she said, Ocie, when I was acting a fool and I was doing all this and cursing and wilding out and just fighting and having sex and all this other stuff, she said, you were the only person that never told me that I was crazy, or, you know, I never went off on her. She said, I would just tell her, now you know that's not right. Not knowing God. I didn't even know him. But it was just the things that I would tell her, you can't go on living like this. You got to get yourself together. I never met God, but now that I see everything that goes on in my life, that's what he was molding me to. My sister ended up, in 1995, my sister ended up getting killed, murdered, right here on Cole and Broadway. A big thing all over the news. You don't want to believe it. And this is the amazing part. My sister called me, the one who dips and dabs, and she calls me, she said, crying. I'm like, what is going on? I'm combing my daughter's hair. And she said, Ocie, she said, they told me Barbara got killed last night. I'm like, what? She says, yeah, she got killed last night. I'm like, no, I don't think so. She'll show up. She always does. She says, right there on Cole and Broadway. And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. So I finished doing my daughter's hair, walked them down to school, come back, call my friend, asked her, can she come and pick me up? And she comes and picked me up, and we go by there. The spooky part is the police are out there all over the place. It's her. We already know it. So my sister gets killed. 3 weeks later, my mom passes away. And so that was a really huge sign for me that my sister always wanted help, and she didn't want to leave her family, but I always felt if they had a place like the Albuquerque Rescue Mission, the Women's Center of Hope, in where I used to live, if they would have had like that kind of environment right there in her hood, in her place, that she would have made it. Because don't give up for their loved one who's out there. Don't give up. You may have to cut them loose a little bit, but don't give up. And they can be saved. That's where I think a lot of the ladies come, is that the families have cut them off, and which they probably need it. Some of the ladies say they wouldn't have made it if the family didn't cut them off, but never stop praying or anything like that. I would say for them that it's such a beautiful place. It's such a wonderful experience. It's something else for you to try. Just give it one more opportunity. We're trying to create a new life for them. I guess I wouldn't say it. I would say the tools and things that they need to take on this new life. Something else, drugs was the old life, and that's how they got through everything. But when you're serving God and you know that you can call on somebody that's going to be there the whole time, it gives you another option. It gives you foundation. I hear a lot of people say, if I had had God, I would have had another option. I would still be married. I would still, be with my kids if I knew God, if I knew. And I think it's another opportunity. It's a new journey. It's a new horizon. It's a new awakening, for anybody. I've never been on drugs. I've never been in domestic violence. I've never had a gun held to my head. I've never done anything like that. But because of my experience, because of what my family went through, my sister, my mom, I'm on the other side. So I know what that feels like. And I'm also a witness. I've witnessed so many miracles. I've seen a woman come in that's it. That if this doesn't work, that's it. And they're ready to take their own life. I've seen ladies come in with cuts. I've seen them come in, they stolen from their mom. They robbed their young sister. I've seen it. I've seen them, but but the miracles, man, I'm telling you, the miracles, I know, that has helped build my faith so much. Just watching these ladies come in, one person, or with no self-worth, with not even a person. They just come in, just a body, and them walk out with loving God, with I know I can do this, I have faith, I'm so much stronger, and nobody's going to tell me this, and I'll listen to God. Knowing what scriptures are, knowing what to pull up, and the families being brought back together. That's something, you can't get that in $1 million. You can't.